for suggesting that he didn't remember
Hi guys,
when his son Bo died.
welcome to my run.
Counsel saying at one point
We're gonna start over.
he was vice
The
president,
practice run is over.
lashing out at our very own Peter
So because we're
Ducey,
starting over,
several reporters there, and
we'll
then
put the
folks at
cinematic in and everything else.
now bring in Kayleigh McEnany, the former White House press secretary. Kayleigh, have you ever seen anything like that where the president of the United States is having a hard time?
I believe we missed this first time around.
Convince not only the press but the American people that he's mentally sharp enough to continue to execute the duties of the presidency?
No, we just saw an unmitigated disaster play out before our very eyes. We just watched a wounded political animal hobble to a podium and react with defensiveness, with anger, and you know it's bad, Jesse, when you have the White House press corps. They are essentially an extension of the Joe Biden press and communications team. When they are shouting at him, asking repeatedly, "Are you going to step aside, Mr. President?" The CNN correspondent asking that. When NBC of all places, writes a headline, "A nightmare. Special counsel report triggers panic among Democrats."
Okay.
And when you have a president who for 45 minutes announces a press conference with no topic, giving the world 45 minutes to speculate, is he stepping aside? What would life be like under a President Kamala Harris? For 45 minutes, the nation got to feel that panic, and I don't think they will forget it come November.
We were upstairs thinking whether he was going to announce that he wasn't running for re-election and what the implications in terms of national security would be. He's already jeopardized national security and then lied about it to the press just now, saying he never willfully retained these classified documents, did not take any responsibility for it, blamed the press when in fact the special counsel said that he packed some of these boxes. And he's on tape acknowledging, "Oh yeah, I've got classified documents down there." And then when Peter Ducey says, "Do you have issues with your memory?" He goes, "My memory is so bad, I let you speak." And that doesn't even make any sense, Kayleigh.
It makes no sense. I believe that one day we will discover that we were all played in what was the biggest presidential cover-up in recent memory. I mean, Jesse, think of the lengths that this team around him has had to go to create an eggshell environment that has kept the American people out. His lawyers wrote to the special counsel, "Please take out the details about his memory." Jill Biden had to escort him off the stage. Karine Jean-Pierre yells ad hominem attacks at Peter Ducey when he asks questions about age. Tonight, the White House communications director said, "Oh, the interview just came one day after October 7th, as if that's an excuse." His campaign says they bring up his age, the press does, to distract from the booming economy. These are all ploys to deceive the American people. One day we will discover the cover-up and how greatly at risk we were for this man being in charge.
Well, today we found out that there has been a cover-up, and they certified everything that we've all seen with our very own eyes. He just does not have what it takes to be commander-in-chief. Kayleigh, thank you so much. Let's bring in Fox News contributor Mark Thiessen. Mark, I don't think I've ever witnessed anything like that. The anger, the defensiveness, the dishonesty, the inability to communicate any sort of confidence or accountability. His own administration said he couldn't be held accountable. In a court of law, they take pity on the jury.
No, exactly right. We're now beyond concern about whether Joe Biden can serve a second term. We should be concerned about whether he can finish serving his terms. And this press conference made it worse. I mean, first of all, he just referred to the president of Egypt, President Sisi, as the president of Mexico in that press conference, just then. So he couldn't remember Hamas. He last week, he couldn't remember who Hamas were. He described a conversation with a long-dead French president. He described his conversation with a dead German chancellor about the January 6th attack, who died 4 years before the attack happened, and he now has described his conversations with President Sisi of Mexico. That's what we just witnessed. He said during that press conference that during the crisis, just a couple of days after the attacks in the Middle East, the October 7th attacks, he took the time to have, in the middle of a crisis, to have a 5-hour interview. Let me just read to you how the special counsel described that interview. In his interview in our office, Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting the day of the interview when his term ended. And on the second day of the interview when his term began, he did not remember even within several years. When his son Bo died, his memory appeared hazy when describing the Afghanistan debate that was once so important to him. He described General Eikenberry, who was his ally, as someone who he disagreed with. And then it said that they found that the reason they didn't go to a jury and charge him, who couldn't charge him, is because his diminished faculties and faulty memory he showed in our interview with him. That is the state of Joe Biden's mental capacity when he was handling the October 7th attacks. In the middle of that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we expected someone to come down into the Oval Office and say, Joe, it's over. And say, we can't have you run for re-election just for the sake of the country, for the sake of the safety of the nation. Aren't there any wise old hands to come down and deliver that message to the president? Because this is a dangerous world. And we've now had a conclusion by his own administration that he's not equipped, mentally, physically equipped to handle the duties of the president. This makes everybody feel unsafe.
100%. Look, here's the thing. 76% of Americans say that he's too old to serve a second term. And that's based on his public utterances. We have limited view into his mental capacity. We just see him stumble in press conferences, make a mistake on the world stage. But we all sit and wonder, well, what's he doing behind closed doors if he's this bad in public? And we didn't know. And what the special counsel has done has pulled back the veil and shown us what he's like in a 5-hour interview. Well, if he's having that much trouble having a conversation, remembering facts, following trains of thought in his meetings with Justice Department lawyers, what are his meetings with world leaders like? What are his meetings with his national security advisors like? You know, he told us after the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal that no one told him to lead 2,500 troops as a residual force. And then his military commanders testified that they had all told him that we needed to leave 2,500 troops behind in Afghanistan. Was he lying, or did he actually not know?
Well, that's where we are. We are at the point where we don't know if he's telling the truth or he doesn't remember. And if you read the report from her, he says that over and over and over again. Where the president doesn't really know or can't remember, and then later just says, yeah, I wanted to keep these documents for my book. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have it where he's not going to remember enough so you can't put him on trial. But if you're going to say, well, he actually knows everything, well, what are you talking about? He's just said he can't remember. None of it makes any sense. And this might be the worst day of his presidency. Maybe not as bad as the Afghanistan day. This might be the worst. Let's now bring in former White House senior advisor Stephen Miller. Stephen, you were there in the White House when the press, everybody was salivating over the
Crazy.
This is about muscle revival and brain line. Former President Donald Trump is the projected winner to elect all delegates in offices held Thursday in Nevada and the Virgin Islands. He received more than 95% of the vote in Nevada, but faced little resistance since Nikki Haley opted to participate in the state's primary earlier this week. And Trump is getting ready to address his supporters. Let's listen in.
The ball on you. Shit. Excellent. I hope you win, man. I seriously do. We need pretty evident you in there. Just get rid of this shit. Got there.
But it's important to keep in mind. There you have former President Donald Trump addressing supporters after winning the caucuses held in Nevada and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The former president has now won the first 4 early voting contests. Nikki Haley opted to skip the caucuses, accusing the state GOP party of rigging the system to benefit Trump. Instead, Haley participated in Tuesday night in those states' primary, in which she lost to none of these candidates. I'm Lauren Green. We are also talking about the attack on Israel, the war in Ukraine, saying none of that would happen had he been president. And his plan is to make America great again. I'm Lauren Green. We're going to go back to Alyssa Waters' prime time. If the president comes down and speaks, or the former president comes down and speaks again, or is starting to, we kind of clear some of those technical problems, those audio problems, we'll bring them back to you live. I'm Lauren Green. Now back to Jesse Waters' prime time.
My memory is fine.
All right, so I see what you're saying. If you look at the transcript, it's a joke, but the sarcasm did not translate at the time. I don't know how it was in the room, but you thought he performed how today?
But also, look at what I was asking him. I was asking him if his memory is so bad that he has to step down as president? That is a very straightforward but hard and uncomfortable question. And so I wouldn't expect him just to laugh it off. It's a serious thing. He needs to convince people that he can go another 5 years when there's already 388 pages of the special counsel saying he's got serious lapses in his memory, doesn't remember giving things to people, doesn't remember where he put stuff. He said tonight he doesn't even know how to the box he's got into his garage. So I wasn't expecting him to go in there and just laugh it off. He takes this stuff seriously.
He does, as long as it pertains to his political survival. I wouldn't say he takes classified document retention seriously if you've looked in the garage. But Peter, tell me about the room there, because you don't get a lot of access to him. Not just you, but all of you don't get access. There was a frothing that I picked up on that you could almost feel through the screen. These reporters never get to speak to him. They were anxious. They were interested. They were really on the tip of their toes. What was that like?
It was as close as you get to the president indoors when he is speaking like that. They had him in the diplomatic reception room, which is basically the room that he walks in or out of when he is going to the helicopter on the South Lawn. So you see the outside door all the time. You never really see inside. They put him right in front of a fireplace and a picture of George Washington and some books, and we were only about 8 or 10 feet away. So it's one of those things. It's good that he took questions. He said right off the top he was going to take questions. If he didn't, there would be no way that they could have said he didn't hear, because we were so close.
Okay, so he contradicts the special counsel's report numerous times about sharing classified documents, about willfully retaining them. I mean, the first sentence is, he willfully retained them. When you hear that, does that strike you as typical political defensiveness, or how do you process that?
Yeah, we're not expecting him to come out and say, I accept the results of this special counsel's investigation. He said what a politician is supposed to say. I cooperated, and I'm not going to be charged. So this is over. And also, look at Donald Trump, because his thing is not over yet.
Right, and it's my staff's fault.
Right.
Gotta blame the staff. You never blame your staff. But I've been known to blame staff once in a while. It's okay. Peter Ducey, thank you so much. Good to see you. Former Green Beret, Joe Kent, talking about the national security implications. But Joe, we were talking earlier about this. There was a rumor that he was going to announce that he might not run for re-election after this damning report. So damaging, not just to the American voter, but to our enemies, to our allies. You have his own administration saying he's painfully smug. He has a hazy memory and is experiencing significant limitations. If you're Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Mexico, how are you grappling with that?
Well, our enemies and adversaries, they smell blood and water. I mean, they've seen how Biden handled the disastrous Afghan withdrawal, how horribly things are going with this war in Ukraine that we're supporting. And then now, this conflict in the Middle East, where we're supporting every single side. I mean, Biden attempted to give some kind of update there, I guess, on the Middle East, but he fails to mention the fact that we're continuing to support the Iranians, or we're pretending to support the Israelis as well. So we're in very dangerous times. I think one of the biggest functions, though, that Joe Biden serves for the people that are actually calling the shots in our country is that he provides this theater where he goes out there as a doddering old man, and not as a doddering old man to get a jail card, and that distracts from the deliberate destruction of our country that the Democrats are doing every single day. The border's wide open. They've pumped 12 million illegals into the country. We have no idea who these people are. They killed 118,000 Americans by fentanyl poisoning, and yet we're supposed to just get out there and have this debate about Joe Biden's memory. This is why I think the Democrats love having Joe Biden there. They can put him out, and they can continue running the deliberate destruction of our nation. I think we've got to come to terms with the fact that the Democrats are done playing politics. They're not trying to convince us about their policies anymore. They're simply looting the coffers as the entire country crumbles. They're pumping in illegals to vote, and at the same time, they're supporting every single side of every single conflict and spinning us into oblivion. And we're supposed to chase this shiny object that is this doddering old man.
Right, but Joe, that game might be up. If he doesn't win the re-election, it's over. The whole game is done. If you can't drag this guy from the then he's useless. And if you look at the polling, and then you read this report, how are the Democrat kingmakers going to hear, when did I stop being vice president? Or am I still vice president in 2009? And say, oh yeah, the American people are going to give this guy another shot. I think this is incredibly damaging to the presidency and almost a terminal blow to the re-election campaign.
I agree, it is, but I do think that the Democrats, especially the Democratic kingmakers, they really stopped worrying about what we would consider normal electoral politics. This is exactly what the border's like. This is why they're pumping illegal immigrants into the country, into major urban centers, and probably into swing states too, for all that we know. I think that they intend to do exactly what Governor Nolan was talking about, some sort of a crisis so that they can manufacture a situation where they control the elections once more, like they did in 2020. So I think we're just in a completely uncharted territory where the Democrats don't care about the Constitution, they don't care about actual fair and free elections, and they don't care about legitimately making their case to the American people, because their case is to completely and totally destroy the nation as we know it.
Yeah, I think we all have to prepare ourselves for October surprises from now until October, and then into November. Thank you so much. Thanks for your service, Joe Tom. Let's now bring in Fox News contributor Byron York. Byron, I want to play an exchange that the president just had with one of the reporters. Let's listen.
The American people have been watching, and they have expressed concern about your age and your judgment. They express concerns about your mental activity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who completely Donald Trump. So why is it not to be now? What is your
So that was interesting. He said that is your judgment, not the judgment of the press. That doesn't make any sense. Beamer said he wasn't antagonistic. It looked like he was going to snap them neck.
Absolutely. He was very antagonistic. This has been an extraordinary day and extraordinary performance by the president tonight. And he's going to be stunned. The White House let him get out and do that. And that particular question that the reporter asked, we've had poll after poll after poll with Americans, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, majorities of them, expressing concern about the president's ability to handle the job of president in a second term. That is absolutely something the electorate thinks. And you're right, the president just kind of snapped her head off, denied it, gave a real angry old man feel to all this, and accomplished exactly the opposite of what he probably hoped to do, which was defuse some of this before he went on.
You're so right. That was not the attitude to come in with. He was running too hot emotionally. You should have just said, listen, stop bringing charges. We made a few mistakes. My staff made some mix-ups when they delivered the boxes, but I take full responsibility for my staff. I'm sorry, but pivot to Trump. Good night, everybody. But he freaked out on it.
Yep.
And it just reinforced the fact that he's so defensive, and understandably why, because Byron,
Nice.
the poll, it's like 23% of the country, they don't think he has what it takes to be president.
And for the president to stand there, as he did on a number of occasions, and say, my memory's fine. My memory's fine. He's telling the American people something that they know isn't true. They're concerned about it. And these are a lot of people who voted for Joe Biden. And this is the world's least surprising story in one that we knew Joe Biden was...
Boys, I love you. I know, I gotta go to bed soon.
Would be 86 if he serves the second term. We all knew that was really pressing the edge of the envelope. And the president has decided to run for re-election. And one word on this, on the other part of the reporter's question, which is, why isn't there some other Democrat who could be Donald Trump? Apparently, early on in his presidency, Joe Biden convinced himself that he and he alone stands between the United States and the abyss of Trumpism. It's his job, it's his mission to rescue America from MAGA extremism. still believes that, and he's running when he's clearly too old.
Yeah, I bet Kamala Harris had an interesting evening once this thing's out. I bet Gavin Newsom might have felt a little wind blow out there in California. I shouldn't even say anything about Michelle because Dana Perino's going to smash me across the face, but this was a very strange afternoon and even stranger evening, and he seems to be still in denial. I don't know if that's ever going to change. Barbara, thank you so much for joining Jesse Rhodes Prime Time.
Thank you, Jesse.
South Brigade former Deputy Independent Counsel Saul Weisenberg. Saul, the president just not telling the truth about what was in his own administration's report. Let's listen to when he was asked about whether he shared classified documents in a second. Your reaction to the report and the president's heated press conference.
Well, my reaction to the report was that it must have been ghostwritten by Gavin Newsom and RFK Jr. in terms of the damage it did to him. But it's interesting you asked that question because my response to the brief press conference there and to his answers was that unfortunately he's lying and he's rather blatantly lying about what the report said. Let me just read you, if I can. This is from the executive summary. Our investigation uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Now, that means willfully retained under this statute means he knew he was violating the law. Now, the special counsel also said, for various reasons, we don't think we can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, but there was certainly evidence of it. And this is even more damning and completely opposite of what he just said. It said, talking about classified documents about Afghanistan. These documents from fall 2009 had classification markings up to the top of secret, sensitive, compartmentalized information level. They were found in a box in Mr. Biden's Delaware garage that contained other materials of great personal significance to him, and that he appears to have personally used and accessed. So he came out and blatantly lied about what the special counsel found. It reminds me very much of when he came out after the Afghanistan debacle and said a number of things that were blatantly untrue.
I mean, how much does this completely undercut his entire platform, that he's the serious person, he's the adult in the room, he understands national security, he's someone to be trusted with America's secrets, he's someone that's sharp and experienced enough to manage the government in a way that Donald Trump is not. I mean, I don't see how you can read this report and then believe anything that Joe Biden tells you about who he is.
You asked a political question. I'm here to do legal, and I'm telling you he lied about what's in the report.
He lied multiple times, and I think this might be it for Joe Biden in the re-election campaign. I'm not going to make predictions. Bridget told me not to, especially after my red wave commentary, but it's a bad day for the Joe Biden re-election campaign. Sal, thank you so much for coming on Jesse Waters Prime Time. We appreciate your analysis. More Prime Time for now.
It's electric. It's gas.
Quite the paradox.
It really is both. The first ever Lexus RX plug-in hybrid.
DirecTV Sports Central brings your game stats and scores together, and now you can get it without a satellite. One more reason to finally get rid of cable. Getting rid of the cable guy might not be a deal.
Visit DirecTV.com for up to a $200 reward card.
When Caroline has a cough, she takes Robitussin, so she can have hers one-on-one again. Hey, Jen, do you have a little casual Friday? Well, sure. What's up? Get fast, powerful cough relief with Robitussin and find your voice.
Right? I agree. There's no small thing. Each day is a unique thing people see and things to do. That's why you choose Lucerne to help manage blood sugar response. You design with carbs that Lucerne bring on the day.
Oh, hello there. And welcome to a history of the world in 6 glasses, where we take you on a journey through 6 eras of civilization. Excuse me.
And join me, your host, John Lovitz.
Hey, I'm Kevin Nealon, and my new book is called I Exaggerate. It's available in bookstores everywhere.
Let's get right in. Well, what's the problem? I'm the host here. You guys are co-hosts.
You deliver my feelings. First, what's your say? You guys get paid?
Join me in 4 scene-stealing hacks for a history of the world in 6 glasses. They should be paying you, George.
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra base?
No. Can I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver than you are. Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
Change course in history.
Sometimes. So I can't explain. Many times. I've been tortured for you. I've been looking for this all my life.
If everyone feels alone around you, it doesn't make sense. It keeps you feeling isolated or alone. It makes you feel helpless, loneliness, where you can help if you want to. It's never too early or too late to ask for help with a drinking problem. Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a way out. For more information, visit AA.net.
Another major blow for the Biden campaign as the Supreme Court heard oral arguments today on whether Colorado should strip Trump from the ballot for engaging in an insurrection. And all 9 justices, liberal and conservative alike, sounded extremely skeptical. Trump considered it a win.
I did say that in watching the Supreme Court today, I thought it was very beautiful process. I hope that democracy in this country will continue.
During questioning from Justice Thomas, the Colorado attorney choked and couldn't even name a single precedent of a state stripping a national candidate from the ballot.
I would suggest that there would at least be a few examples of national candidates being disqualified, if your reading is correct.
Well, certainly national candidates were disqualified by Congress refusing to seat them.
I understand that, but that's not this case. If you are right, where are the examples?
Well, Your Honor, the examples are states excluding many candidates for state office, individuals holding state offices.
I understand the states controlling state elections and state positions. What we are talking about here are national candidates.
Brutal. Justice Kagan and Justice Jackson, both nominated by Democrat presidents, didn't seem to buy the argument that the 14th Amendment was written to disqualify presidential candidates, when it clearly states only officers could be disqualified. Listen to this.
The question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States.
The framers were concerned about charismatic rebels who may rise through the ranks up to and including the presidency of the United States.
But then why did you put the word president in the very enumerated list in section 3? The thing that really is harrowing to me is I totally understand your argument, but they were listing people that were guard, and president is not there. Well, if there's an ambiguity, why would we construe it to, as Justice Kavanaugh pointed out, against democracy?
Justice Jackson may not know what a woman is, but she knows what democracy is. Now, Brontime's hearing it could be an 8-1 or even a unanimous decision to keep Trump on the ballot, but the resistance will continue because Democrat attorneys
Machine gun.
said that if Trump wins this November, they have an insurance policy.
If this court concludes that Colorado did not have the authority to exclude President Trump from the presidential ballot on procedural grounds, I think this case would be done. But I think it could come back with a vengeance because ultimately members of Congress may have to make the determination after a presidential election if President Trump wins about whether or not he's disqualified from office and whether to count votes cast for him under the Electoral Count Reform Act.
Whoa, this means if Trump wins this November and the Democrats retake the House and keep the Senate, they can vote to disqualify Trump from the presidency before he can be sworn in. Hillary Clinton can't read the room and fashions herself as a superior constitutional scholar than the 9 justices, and says Trump is a would-be serial killer who shouldn't be permitted to run.
There is a yearning for leaders who can kill and imprison their opponents, destroy the press, lead a life that is one of impunity, unbound by any laws. If you read Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it's pretty clear that he should not be permitted to run for president. I think the argument is very strongly on their side.
The media fell into depression after sensing Trump would likely stay on the ballot, but enjoyed censoring his reaction to the proceedings. Watch this.
The rent was broke when I left. They had no money to give to us.
Okay, I think we've gotten all the legal analysis we're going to get out of this.
And after listening to Donald Trump, we of course went to Mar-a-Lago to hear him talk about the arguments that we've all been listening to for more than 2 hours. But instead, he has gone adrift, shall we say, and talked about Israel, World War III, Iraq, made all sorts of accusations unsupported.
So if Trump was really going to destroy the press, as Hillary said, wouldn't the press want to hear what Trump said? Certainly I want to know how I was going to be arrested, thrown in prison, and destroyed. Another Fox News alert, the NYPD has released the body cam footage showing migrants attacking the 2 police officers in Times Square. Nate Boyd has it.
Well, Jesse, for the first time, we're seeing exactly what 2 NYPD officers experienced when at least 11 people attacked them, including several migrants in Times Square. Take a look at this. So you see part of the confrontation there, Jesse, but take a look at how it started. So this 24-year-old migrant, see, looks offended when an officer touches his coat while trying to make him move. The officers guide the migrant away from the crowd, but as they do that, take a look at this next video, he pushes back. The officers take him to the ground, but then you see his friends jump in and kick the officers while they're down. You see that man in the red on the top of the screen, he gets a few shots in. He's one of 5 migrants who still hasn't been arrested. Here's what officers saw when the migrants attacked. Scary stuff. Thankfully, both of those officers are okay, but of the 11 people involved in that attack, get this, Jesse, only one of them is behind bars tonight.
That's a travesty, Nick. Thank you so much.
You got it.
So glad we can talk to you guys about something that is really near and dear to my heart. It's about my book, called Get It Together, Troubling Tales from the Liberal Fringe. We were just talking about this attack on the NYPD, and one of the chapters I discussed with someone how they became to be a BLMer, an anti-racist BLMer who wants to defund the police. And it totally makes sense when you speak to these people about why they hate police and why they wanted to defund the police. It all goes back to their childhood. And like most people, they just open up to me, tell me all of the troubling traumas that they've experienced and how all of their political beliefs have nothing to do with logic. It's all an emotional expression about maybe daddy issues, insecurities that they have. It's a really eye-opening book. It's up there with some of the greatest books that have ever been written. And that's not me saying that, that's my name. Always remember, I'm Wanzers, and this is my world. And welcome to Hannity. We begin tonight with Fox News Alert. We are following 2 massive story strikes that could rock the 2024 election. First, the long-awaited special counsel report on President Biden's mishandling of top-secret classified documents from his time as even a senator, but vice president, have now been made public. That report, it is beyond damning.
Biden just tried to save face with the American public. It was a shocking display of his cognitive decline. We're going to play those outrageous remarks in a minute. But let's lay out the details in this report. Devastating. According to the report, quote, President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Investigators found classified documents, including notebooks from meetings regarding highly sensitive material on foreign policy and national security, carelessly stored in what appears to be his garage. And while what the special counsel found about Biden's handling of classified documents was alarming, what it says about his cognitive state is, quite frankly, shocking. And by the way, it should have every single concern about the mental health, the cognitive health of the president of our country, the president of the United States. And according to the special counsel, the Department of Justice, they are not charging Joe Biden, quote, because Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as he did during our interview.
Saved it just before coming out to battle too, so just in case.
So let me get this straight. Does this mean the special counsel is not charging Biden because of his cognitive decline and would come off as a nice guy? I thought the special counsel said he did this willfully. And by the way, it gets much worse. According to the report, on the first day of Biden's interview, he could not even remember when he was vice president. He asked the people interviewing him, if it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? He couldn't remember when he took office as vice president, asking this question. In 2009, am I still vice president? And in what probably is the saddest part of the entire report, and it's sad, Joe couldn't even remember within a few years when his son, Bo, died. And according to the special counsel's findings, Biden's clear cognitive struggles in meetings with his ghostwriter in early 2017, just months after leaving office as vice president, quote, likely appears consistent with the diminished
Now we're talking.
and faulty memory. And frankly, this is scary. Now, we have been warning you about this for years. Joe Biden does not have the cognitive strength and ability and mental stamina to take the toughest job in the world, and that's to lead this country. And I'm not being flippant when I say this. They are describing a president of the United States who could not be one of those very nice Walmart greeters, because they would be describing a person who would be cognitively incapable of actually remembering where every department is in the store. The special counsel is saying loudly that Joe Biden is unfit to be the president. Think about what the rest of the world is thinking about this report. Joe is in charge of our nuclear weapons. He's got the nuclear football with him at all times, right next to him. And tonight, even the media mob, they're struggling to defend him. NBC News reporting the special counsel's assessment of Joe Biden's mental state has triggered, quote, democratic panic. The Washington Post said the report was, quote, paints a scathing picture of Biden's memory. And both the USA Today recap of the report and the Axios write-up pointed to the growing questions around Biden's memory concern. And the Hill called it, quote, eyebrow-raising report. When pressed by reporters tonight in a bizarre press conference, only answered about 3 questions, Biden dismissed questions about his age and his memory. Take a look.
President Biden, some of the special counsel said it's reported that not charged because he used his elderly man with a poor memory. Just to cut you back on the street, I don't need his recommendation. That's and he's president. My memory is so bad I can live in the street. That's the problem was because of my memory is not that well. It's fine.
When you were asked about your age, you responded to more well, many Americans are watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is not the judgment.
They expressed concerns about your mental acuity. They stated
O.C. will join us in just a moment. A very contentious press conference, probably in the. If we look at modern history, the modern level of presidency, and the people that are served, I can't think of a worse report or a worse press conference than this one. Now, Joe, if your memory really is fine, then why couldn't you remember the name of the church your son's rosary is from? He couldn't remember. This is at this disastrous press conference after the release of the disastrous report. Look at this.
I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's no reference to my son. I'm not asking questions to talk to myself, but their damn business. I'll tell you something. Some of the since the day he died, every single day, the roads in the county. Every Memorial Day before the service.
Our Lady, I'm not making fun. He couldn't remember. And that wasn't his only blunder in a short press conference. He also called the president of Egypt, the president of Mexico. That means President O.C.U. Take a look.
The conduct of the response in the has been at the top. I think that initially, President of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to that chariot. I talked to him. I convinced him.
The president of Egypt is it time to consider invoking the 25th Amendment. Now, you may remember Section 4 of this amendment. It authorizes a vice president, a majority of principal officers of the executive departments to now transmit to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the power and the duties of his office, allowing the vice president to immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Now, going back to the damning report, Biden was pressed on why he took the classified material, and his angry presser declared that the notebooks are his, quote, property. And I quote, every president before me has done this exact same thing. Sound familiar? This is almost the exact same argument former President Trump made right here on this show last year, months after investigators conducted their raid of Mar-a-Lago. And he still faces charges. Now, this is why the House Judiciary, they are rightly investigating whether Joe Biden's Department of Justice is weaponized, whether or not the DOJ has been politicized. And tonight, after the release of the report, Trump called on the special counsel in his case to dismiss all charges related to the classified document issue. But sadly, what did we learn? If you're Hillary Clinton, if you're Joe Biden, you get one system of justice. We have a two-tiered system of justice. It's now on full display once again. Hillary Clinton, remember her, deleted 33,000 subpoenaed emails, some with top secret classified information, all for private server. She faced no charges, and don't forget, we know about the top secret classified documents that James Comey did find, but no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute. Now Joe gets off without charges, just like Hillary, and James Comey, James Comey exonerates Hillary, and Donald Trump gets, his home raided and charges brought against him. Remember, James Comey found tons of classified emails on that laptop. Top secret classified email. It was believed that our enemies might have had access to it. But first, our other top story tonight. We'll get back to this in a minute. Earlier today, the Supreme Court, they heard oral arguments over the Colorado attempt to ban Donald Trump from that ballot. And it was a disaster from start to finish for the leftists in Colorado. Listen to this.
If Colorado's position is upheld, surely there will be disqualification proceedings on the other side. I would expect that a good number of states will say, whoever the Democratic candidate is, you're off the ballot, and others for the Republican candidate you're off the ballot, it'll come down to just a handful of states that are going to decide the presidential election. That's a pretty daunting consequence.
What about the idea that we should think about democracy, think about the right of the people to elect candidates of their choice, letting the people decide, because your position has the effect of disenfranchising voters to a significant degree.
The question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States.
We have a lot to unpack tonight. We start with Peter Ducey. He is at the White House. I thought a pretty nasty comment to you. I thought overall, when he couldn't remember on the radio and there was no finish to that answer, I thought that was bad. Getting O.C.C. was bad. He's come off now a week where he said he had a conversation with France.
Yeah, we did it.
He didn't happen. He died in '96. And, he made a similar comment at one of his fundraisers yesterday. And, about Chancellor Helmut Kohl, but back to his Angela Merkel, on top of him not being able to remember Hamas. We'll play that tape later. Everyone's asking the right question. What is the reaction among your colleagues in Washington, Peter?
Well, the first thing I would say is I didn't think the
There it is.
to me was nasty. I thought he was just making a joke, and that's how in the room I took it. And it seemed like being in the room, President Biden did what he had to do. This report is 388 pages to make him sound like he is careless with national secrets that are not his, that he has severe memory loss, and it really draws into question about whether or not if his memory is this bad right now, he's got another 5 years in office in him. So they sent him in there for some brief remarks. He disputed it. He's got the bully pulpit, so he can basically say whatever he wants. And then he took question and answer, which I think was very helpful in accomplishing what they wanted to do. To show he does have some rights. He can defend this the way that he wants to, and then he can walk away. But it is problematic when he gets CC mixed up. When he says that CC is the president of Mexico when he's talking about Egypt, particularly because this is the same week we have heard him talk 3 different times about interacting as president with European leaders who have been dead for at least 5 years.
Okay.
The Biden team is already putting out that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, did get Iran and Iraq mixed up and meet the press. And they're saying that this is something that is common, but it is not common to have 388 pages of stuff. And at least, I'm not trying to be a Biden apologist, but at least in this mistake, CC is a leader that he interfaces with who is alive.
Yeah. Okay, he's alive. I guess we'll give him a big check mark for that. He gets a gold star. I got an honorable mention there, too, apparently, today. Even Sean Hannity, once you mixed up the names of Jason Chaffetz and Matt Gaetz, I'm like, okay, are you going to put me in the category of this guy that couldn't remember Hamas, is speaking to dead people, a guy that doesn't even remember the rosary, where it came from, that was so special to him? These are not insignificant moments, Peter, as I think you know, because you've been one of the few people willing to delve into this and get to that touchy subject. Is the White House still pushing back hard? Is there any feeling among some that, hey, wait a minute, if this is what Robert Hurt concluded, this is what they're telling everybody behind the scenes privately? In other words, my sources tell me he really is in this bad condition. That's what they tell me.
I don't know how it is when you go out and about, Sean, but basically everywhere that I go and somebody comes up and talks to me about White House coverage or Joe Biden, they're asking, is he really going to be the nominee? Is he going to make it, is he going to continue until Election Day? And it's not what happens. And we don't really know what is going to happen. You see something like this, it does introduce questions about fitness for office. Very, very serious questions. And we've heard generally that the process, because ballot deadlines have passed, that it'll be Kamala Harris who ascends to the top of the ticket. Then who was the running mate? Or we know we've seen in the past the way that the Democratic convention works. Can they weight it with these weighted delegates? and organize around somebody else that they want. And so we don't know. But when you see a report like this, that despite the fiery performance from the president tonight, the questions remain about fitness for office for another 5 years. And it could be to the point that, his big thing is he says, I am not being charged. This is over. It may be a situation in the next couple months that they would have rather been charged and not had these graphic descriptions of issues with memory when his likely opponent in November, Donald Trump, does nothing but say that Joe Biden can't string 3 sentences together and doesn't even know that he's alive.
I don't think he knows what day it is. I've said that for a long time. I think that what happened today between that, I would say, disastrous press conference that you were a part of and this report, the odds have dramatically increased that he will not be the Democratic nominee come November. We'll see how that plays out. I know you'll be on the front lines of that. We appreciate your hard work and joining us, Pete Newsom. Thank you. All right, joining us now, Fox News contributor and George Washington Law Professor Jonathan Turley. I can't think of a worse report or a worse press conference in the modern era as it relates to the president. Can you?
No, there's a terribly sad aspect to the report. The report itself is baffling because there is this disconnect between what the special counsel is saying and his ultimate decision. I mean, he repeatedly talks about, despite the president's denials, the willful retention of material. The president himself admits this material goes back 40 years. So the effort to say this is all the fault of the staff is not just incredible, it's insulting. But what he says about the president's diminished mental state is alarming, and there's no escaping this. This press conference obviously didn't help. I can understand why they held it, but the miscues again only raised additional questions.
He couldn't remember when he became the vice president. He couldn't remember when he left that office. He couldn't remember within the 3 years even when his son Bo passed away. And he did cite something that he tried to push back on in the press conference. The report said that he willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. Willfully retained and disclosed. Now, he tried to cite other areas in the report where he felt that they were saying just the opposite. But this seems to stand out very clear and unambiguous to me.
Well, there's whole headings that say that. I mean, that part of it's the curious aspect about this report. And the president really brought that out for public view. I mean, he's suggesting that this was some immaculate offense, that somehow the documents followed him out of the Senate skiff. They magically moved from spot to spot. They ended up in clearly an utilized box in his garage. Many of those questions are not answered in this report, but the really troubling aspect is when the special counsel says, look, he's just too sympathetic. Now, it's certainly true it's harder to convict Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. than it is Donald Trump. But the measure of whether you will indict someone...
We'll see you guys tomorrow, right? Peace.
...popular they may be. Also, since, as the president says, this goes back 40 years, his diminished capacity today is different from when many of these violations likely occurred. So there's a lot